Welcome back, and hello if this is your first time checking out this podcast. My name is Mike Liordi, this is my cat Smokey, and I am your host of State of My Art podcast. I hope you're all doing well, staying safe and healthy and happy. I'm down here in quarantine for the next while here in Canada. I was just in Florida, sweating my face off, as you'll get to see here on episode 14. So let me know how you're doing. Leave a comment if you're watching this on YouTube. And yeah, feel free to ask me whatever during my lonely couple weeks down here. On this week's episode 14, I video chat with my good friend Cole Fleming, aka RubeusCubeus. He's down in Charleston, West Virginia, doing the damn thing. Do people still say that? Anywho, he's got a lot going on. Extremely long Twitch streams, several music projects, Etsying incredible bath products with his extremely talented girlfriend Tiff, and he's got a fun new YouTube channel where he basically broadcasts his journey of being a creative. Cole has a very interesting, optimistic perspective on life. Maybe it stems from his extensive research in psychology and philosophy, and or the fact that he is a practicing Buddhist. He's a very humble, generous, kind friend, and I'm very excited to introduce him to the State of My Art community. My conversation with Cole Fleming happened on November 16th, 2020. Well, we are really doing it. Cole Fleming, thank you for being on the show. Episode 14 of State of My Art podcast. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing pretty good, man. I've been out here just living life and trying to take things in stride. Yeah, for sure. How about yourself?
Pretty good, pretty good. I take it you are in Charleston, West Virginia still?
Yes, sir. Born and raised, hanging out, always here, trying to make it the place that I need it to be.
Yeah, man. I love Charleston. That's kind of been my second home in a lot of ways for many years, starting at the Empty Glass, playing the Blue Parrot. You are my second Charleston guest, Greg McGowan being the first.
Yeah, Greg McGowan, the myth, the legend.
Yeah, it's good to have you on. And I feel like this is going to be a good one because the times that I've stayed at your house, we've had some real good artistic, intellectual conversations, so I'm stoked to get into it and some of the cool things you've been doing. Very inspiring. I think people are going to really dig it.
I'm really excited for it as well, man. I've been craving the ability to talk in a public forum about what I've been up to, and you are one of the most inspirational people I've ever met just because of the whole do-it-yourself attitude that you've always had. So it's really cool to meet you. The very first time I met you, you were loading in all of your gear, and I just remember thinking, whoa.
Well, thanks, man. Yeah, I always went all out, especially in Charleston, because I knew some of my favorite artists were coming out to play on the bill and watch the show, and I remember getting a picture of having all my gear lined up outside of the venue because, you know, the Blue Parrot and, the Empty Glass was usually pretty cool about me coming in early and loading up and loading in. But the Blue Parrot especially is like, no one's even going to be there until 8 p.m. and the show's at 9. So I'm like, oh, that's not enough time for my lonesome gear to get in there.
It's really interesting because I think, especially prior to seeing you play, people cannot fathom the level of preparation that you would need to do in order to make your show happen. But once you're there and you see it, you're just like, oh yeah, hours this should take. And venues are not expecting that, especially in Charleston. Most of the people who come through are playing combo amps and small kits or house kits, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't think it was possible for each upgrade. I just thought, oh, well, it's just an extra 5 minutes of setup, or it's just an extra, 10 hours of video editing. And then I would just get, more and more each tour. And I guess that it's always been kind of a hard question to answer when people are like, how long did it take you to make this show? And I'd be like, well, I mean, essentially it's been like a progression of 10 years since like my original bandmates kind of left me and I decided to be just like a solo thing. And then each tour I would add a new element to the one-man show, or side musicians. It was almost more time consuming to teach all these side musicians all these ever-changing parts. So it kind of made it easier to make it a one-man show. It just made load in, extra hour out each time. But I mean, I find that kind of stuff fun. I always said it's the third most fun part of being in a band, because if you look at being in a band, there's so many boring, tedious things to it. But the number one thing, playing music, recording music, showcasing your music, it's such a reward that it's all worth it. But then, like, aside from that, you have number two maybe being hanging out with your peers, your other artists. That's pretty fun. And then aside from those two things, it's all treacherous, tedious work. Like, you're maybe editing. I would rather be setting up gear than editing. I would rather be setting up gear than, I don't know, booking tours. The list goes on and on. Driving to the next show. I'm more stoked to get there and set up all my gear and make sure all my toys are working and be kind of an engineer for 2 hours. Like that excites me more than figuring out, how to get around the traffic coming up.
I used to hate loading gear, and I haven't done it for a couple of years now. In fact, one of the reasons that I really started straying away from it is because I was just so tired of loading gear every single night. But I will say that now, especially after having gotten into all of this, the idea of setting up a show is way more pleasing to me. But I always enjoyed the tedium, the grind, the struggle of getting to and from place, figuring out the logistics, doing all that dumb practicing in your room. That stuff excited me because it allows me to be alone and kind of zone into why I'm doing this and consider those things. But yeah, I can definitely understand. There are very few parts of being a musician that's actually fun. I always think that creative efforts in general are seen as the public as being these extravagant, really awesome, cool endeavors. But my experience with it has been that it's soul-crushing, back-breaking, character-defining work constantly. Yeah, so that's always really intriguing to me. I love... you hear it all the time too, I'm sure, and I hear it all the time of people who don't quite understand just being you're out there doing all the cool stuff, and I'm like, oh man, 80% of my job is battery management.
That's good. You put it so well. Character defining, back-breaking work is what it really is, because there is a lot of nights where whether I'm freezing in my trailer waiting to drive the rest of the way, or loading in a bunch of gear, where I'm thinking, man, I just want this night to be over. But then at some point in that week or month or tour, it hits me that wow, I'm so much further than I used to be as a character, as a person. This is building something that I think people are going to latch onto, and naturally, whether it's subconscious or they see it, they do latch onto that story in a sense, because they see that band grind. And that's why a lot of bands who have been together, especially original members for so long, they kind of have that aura when they kind of build a star power out of it and a brotherhood around it from going through those hard times. Because how many times have we just played to the sound guy, or a room full of people who didn't care what we're doing, and it's that is so hard to push through and play to. But at the end of the night, you often feel hey, I'm glad we did that together, or I'm glad even when I go out and do it myself, I'm glad that the three people in that room really appreciated what I did. Or even if those people didn't care what I was doing, they're still giving me tons of compliments after, and that makes me feel I'm so glad that I pushed through that hard time. And it's symbolic for all the other hard times, for all the venues that tell you, no, you can't play here, or come back when you have a bigger following. It's you get so much rejection being a musician, but a lot of people just see the smiling on stage, right?
Yep. And pushing through, tenacity is the whole thing that has gotten me to where I am in my life. The kid that I was at 14 years old in my first band and the person in front of you today are completely different. I feel as though I have been forged through constant rejection from sometimes my peers, from sometimes the world around me, from promoters, from you don't have enough social network presence, all of these things, and then you get on stage. And I don't know if you remember watching Letters play, but I mean, I punch myself in the face. Yep. And just really aggressive, because you're getting out all this frustration of why don't you see that I'm good enough? Why don't you see that I deserve to be here? Why don't you understand? And those moments are the ones that you come through afterwards, and you're like, every part of my body, my teeth are jingling in my head, and I've never felt better than I do in this moment.
Yeah, that's so entertaining to watch, man. That's what some of my favorite bands portrayed to me when I was just a 14-year-old kid too. And I respect it so much. And stage presence is a huge part of a show, because that is visually the greatest way to express what you're feeling and what you've been through.
What's going on?
One of my favorite bands was Monine. I don't know if you ever heard of them. They were from my hometown. They're like a starting line meets almost Alexis on Fire. They were good friends with Alexis on Fire. And
all right.
Hippie and Kenny and Eric were the guitarist and bass player. They would just fly around the stage. And I ended up hearing stories through some of the venues that I toured through that were the craziest show that we've ever seen was a band from Brampton called Monine. Once they found out that I was from Brampton, it was we think of Monine when we hear Brampton. And I'm like, bloody right you do. Those guys give it everything they've got. They fly around, they're throwing their guitars, they're jumping off of 20-foot speakers. And every show I've seen, which is probably 30 Monine shows, they're going 120%. So I really respect that about you as an artist and your band. And I guess I want to get into that too, because I tried to look up Letters. Yeah. You sent me the link. Mm-hmm. Are you guys still going? Are you still putting out music?
No. Well, no. Everybody in this band would agree that we are on hiatus, and we have been for a couple of years. Now, we played a show last November, so about a year ago. It was our first show in over a year, and it was just kind of a reunion show, get back and touch base with all the people who were hanging out. We had people come out, people were still stage diving and having a good time. We recorded 2 songs. Well, oh man, maybe why not? We recorded 2 songs then that never got released, and those things were just sitting on. And I'm sure one day, I have this whole belief that one day we will get back together, especially when we're ready. I think at the end of Letters, not at the end, but when we kind of broke it off to take a break, we were all just tired. We had all been working so hard for so long and playing so many shows. Rob and I started when we were 16 or 17, and then we started playing shows when we were juniors in high school as Letters, or the Vanishing Act at the time. And then we added Jacob and Alex, the drummer and the bass player, to fill out the lineup, because we want to start doing full band stuff. And then we played a show every weekend, sometimes 2 a weekend, sometimes 3 a weekend for multiple years, and just cut our teeth and tried to learn what it is that we were doing out here. And I think that by the end of it, Jacob was playing in a bunch of bands, Rob was playing in a bunch of bands, Alex had been moving towards an engineering degree, and then I just was searching for something kind of different. Not better. I was always very happy to be playing in Letters, but I was just tired, man. Because of the nature of those shows, I was sore and hurting and just didn't even know why I was screaming anymore. It felt contrived to some degree of I'm pretty happy right now. Why am I screaming and punching myself in the face? And so I think that it was necessary to take the break. But there's always stuff getting done with that. We still have a group chat that we all message in, and we're all incredibly close, and I think will be forever. And Rob has gone on to do unbelievable things in the music world. I don't know if you've kept up with him, but from playing with Time and Distance or playing with Pantry or Massing, which is an incredible band out of Huntington, he is going on to do really, really cool things. So it's been good. All good vibes in that sector of things. There was nobody was angry at each other. We just wanted to do other things. In fact, Rob and I started a hip hop duo and were rapping and playing shows rapping for like a year just to do something different.
Yeah, I checked out that project. Definitely very interesting and unique, but also very contemporary and cool.
Yeah. I wanted something that banged. I wanted something that was big and like huge sounding, and I could feel like the king of the world during, because a lot of Letters was all about how upset I was with how I was turning out and how I was becoming as a person for a while. So I think I wanted something a little bit more self-positive.
Fair. That's cool, man. Yeah, what's that project called again? Sorry, I'm
You're fine. Flow Season is what that project was called.
Flow Season.
Yeah.
Right on. Yeah.
FS. Yeah.
Yeah, I do remember seeing that through, I don't know if it was like Greg's posts or when I was in Charleston last maybe, and I was like, Flow Season, that's a cool name. And I didn't even know you were part of it.
I think when you stayed here, we were in the throes of it.
Okay.
Because I kind of remember I remember when you would be gone during the day and I would come in here and I was like working on stuff while you were gone during the day. So I do remember that was kind of like right in the throes of it. So I might have mentioned it to you even perhaps, but yeah, for sure. It was a cool thing. Another thing that like I kind of did, and then when I was done with it, I moved on, which is my whole style. I've been listening to a lot of your podcasts, and you and Greg talk about like writing down song ideas and all this stuff, and I do that as well. I always make the joke, people, I don't know if you had this happen to you, but people who have known me for a long time always hit me up and they're like, dude, let's make music, man. Let's get together. And I'm always like, yeah, sure. I have 100+ song ideas sitting around waiting. So if you ever want to, and then you never hear from those people again.
Right.
And I think that people think that's a joke or whatever, but really, I'm sure you do this too. It's compulsive. I just like write lyrics or like play a guitar line and like sing something over it and put it in the vault and just sit it away. And then I try to move forward to the things that I'm doing currently. I try to not think too much about what Letters is going to do, because I assume that when Letters is going to do, I will just be there in the moment doing it.
Yeah, and if anything, it works out the muscle. If you never use 99 of those 100 song ideas, it will get you to arrive to that 101st idea that is, your most proud piece of art. So yeah. I'm the same way. I'm just like, just flesh this idea out. Even if you don't like it right now, maybe you will like it in a couple weeks, or maybe you'll find something that will make it your most prized possession.
Yeah, for sure. I think that there's a lot of benefit in just getting it out, always getting it out, whether it sucks, whether you hate it, whatever. And then you can choose how much time to spend with it. It's 6 a.m. this morning. I was like, one last check going over all this stuff. And then I just kind of felt like picking up my guitar. I started writing a song and wrote like verse, chorus, verse. And then just didn't even listen to it afterwards, recorded a voice memo of it and had it sitting around. And I'll probably go back in a couple of days or something and just listen to it and be like, how did that actually sound now that I'm not in the moment? Mm-hmm. But it allows you, which I learned from recording. I mean, Greg really introduced me to this of I was a pretty terrible vocalist, guitarist, everything until I discovered recording myself. Not even recording with Greg, but when I started working with him and learning how to do it myself, then I was like, oh, I'm terrible at this. Like, I'm really, really bad at hearing notes and singing, and I should probably work on that. So then it became this compulsive, obsessive thing of, well, I'll record my voice and then I'll listen to it 30 times and then I'll record it again and then I'll listen to it 30 times and I'll record it again and then I'll tune it to where it's supposed to be and then I'll listen to that and then I'll sing along to that and I'll try to hit those notes naturally. And to anyone who thinks that they're a bad musician, I just say do it more. Do it way more. Like every single day. Make it a thing that you have to do. That's how you express yourself, and you'll get to where you want to go. I guarantee it.
Yeah, recording yourself is the best way. I would do the same thing where I would just demo things out on Pro Tools and have my, quick auto tuner to see if that melody is as good as I thought, because I, happened to butcher the take at the time. And I would listen to it, and then before I knew it, like my ear was trained to land on those pitches more. So I love that you said that about tuning it just to help your ear practice. And my next podcast, I hope, is going to be with my vocal coach, which should be interesting because I'll be doing exercises and stuff. It's kind of going to be half lesson, half podcast. And I told him the same thing. Like, I couldn't sing this song in the booth, and then I put the auto-tune on, and then I went and sang it the next day. And sure, I got a lot of practice out of doing it in the booth, but like the amount that I improved through hearing somebody else sing it with perfect pitch, even though that somebody else was me plus auto-tune, was such a great way for me to sing better. And hearing some other people, sing my songs, whether it be my vocal coach or when we had my original singer, Steve Mitchell, the first guest of the podcast, when he would come in and sing, he's so talented. And like, that's why we were like, dude, we know you're a drummer, but you're such a good singer. Do you want to be the singer of our band? And we learned so much from him. He was kind of our first vocal coach of like telling us how to relax our voices and stuff. So, but yeah, becoming a engineer producer was so beneficial for my chops, whether it be from drumming to singing. Everything just improved from just being obsessive about making my demos as, best performance sounding as possible, for lack of better terms.
Oh, definitely. And when I first started being recorded by somebody else, I just got this feeling of like, I know I'm not that good, but it seems that there are methodologies and techniques to make me better. And I don't think that anyone else is going to care enough about my voice to do it for me. So I need to go learn how to do that. And so through figuring out how to get there, you kind of learn all these little interesting secrets. Singing is one of like the most misunderstood instruments that exist. I believe people think you have to be belting all the time. You have to be yelling, and you have to be really reaching for these giant top notes. And I just think it's way more important to learn how to think about melody than it is to be this incredible, big, huge vocalist. I just don't think that that's super necessary. And especially because one of my favorite musicians of the past few years was Billie Eilish. Billie Eilish wrote some unbelievable music and she is whispering a lot of the times, but she's a great singer. It doesn't mean that she's a bad singer because she's not, going as hard as James Hetfield from Metallica. So a lot of that was good for me because I was never very good at belting notes. I'm not. I don't know if do you know Greg Lilly from Motion Theater? No. Along with other things. He's from Beckley, an area close by, and he is like this unbelievably powerful sing like Adele or Hayley Williams vocalist. He's just unbelievably powerful. And coming to the realization that wasn't me and understanding my voice was extreme, way more helpful to me than any type of just yell harder, man, type lesson was. So,
what's crazy about that too is, I'm sure he would agree, he's probably not actually pushing and shouting from the muscles that injure your voice. He's still, controlling it and actually, he's not working up a sweat as he hits those loud, high notes, which is
that's just where
back
he goes.
To what you were saying. Yeah, it's a big it's the most misperceived instrument for sure, especially for guys who grew up in an alternative rock world like us and picked up a guitar and thought, okay, strum harder, yell louder, and it will sound better and it will be louder. That's not always the case. You have your amp to make you louder, and you have your microphone to capture your voice and your emotion. And as long as you're delivering that, it doesn't have to be 10 decibels louder than you think, but it will be 20 decibels louder than you think if you deliver it properly. So it took me like 10 years to learn that.
It's more about the frequencies that you're producing than the volume of those frequencies, for sure. And you start to. There's a band called the Menzingers that I think of a lot, and the one of the vocalists from the band, the Menzingers, Greg is his name, will belt these extreme notes that just feels like it's coming from the depths of his soul. But then you watch him do it, and like you say, his face isn't red, he's not straining, his mouth is barely open, and you watch his throat move. I mean, there's like an undulation that's going on. There's this motion. That's everything for singing. You're trying to get this. You create chords out of your vocal cords. You really do. It's all about the control of it. And in fact, we took me and Rob back when Letters was going on, went to Greg Lilly for one single vocal lesson. There was supposed to be more, and we just never kept with it. But he explained a lot of the things that became the basis of my theory about singing. And as I said, I've met so many people who think they're a terrible singer, and I'm like, well, you're not really even trying to figure out like what your voice is. You're just trying to sound like Dude on the Radio number 10, and that might be what's going on here.
Yeah, that's probably the biggest piece of the puzzle, is just learning to accept your voice and enjoy your natural tone and how you pronounce, even like just accept that is, what you are, and get used to hearing that, and then you will develop your true tone. Your true tone that was a big piece of the puzzle for me. I wanted to be like nasally and whiny like all my favorite singers growing up, and then I realized, you know what, maybe it's not so bad that I have this deep resonance, and maybe the higher notes are easier to hit if I have that freedom. And it's like any other instrument too. You learn in drums that the natural flow of gravity is what's going to get you speed, not to have quicker hands. And it's the same thing with singing. It's not that you need stronger muscles to create a stronger voice. You just need to let the flow of the world take its course and your body create resonance. That's all it comes down to.
Well, and I think that's everything. That's, at least to my experience, every single thing in this world turns out significantly better for me whenever I just go with the flow, whenever I stop resisting. For a long time, I fought against who I really was, and I tried to be this just average Joe, normal West Virginian, and it wasn't until I said, you know what, like, I always have known that I've been weird or different or whatever. I need to lean into that. I need to stop straying away from it. It's harming me to do that. And then you start to realize, okay, well, now I'm working this job, and I found that, yes, I could argue with the manager about whatever, but I can just also go with the flow and just not worry about it and stop caring about all of these things. I was writing a song yesterday, and I said, you were bitter at the wind as if it was blowing just to ruin your hair. And that's the way that I think most people are. They're so resistant to the world, not realizing Terrence McKenna had a statement where he said, you are both the wind and the sails. You make the wind blow. You are the one who creates the thing. You are the vessel, but also you are the motion behind the vessel. And that is everything, from guitar to video to skateboarding to rock climbing to hiking, camping. Everything I've ever done and put effort into has shown me that the world is all about the waves and going with them.
Hell yeah. That is such a valid lesson for everybody. And it's something that I don't think a lot of people realize until late in their 20s, early in their 30s.
Oh, yeah.
And you're lucky if you realize it, when you're in high school. I wish I did. Because,
oh, man, I didn't realize it in high school.
Yeah, I was the king of, trying to, steer the ship and resistance. And just do it my way on it, from skateboarding to being in a band. And it was like, no, my way is going to work because I am so resilient to have a hard work ethic. And sure, that shines through, but I made a lot of wrong turns, and I missed a lot of big opportunities that I probably would have had if I took a step back and said, maybe what I'm doing isn't working, despite the progression that I'm getting out of it. So that's really valid. And I'm glad that you are embracing your sort of quirky, weird side now. I checked out like your new YouTube channel, and it's like, yeah, this is interesting. This is what people want to see. And it's, you did trying all the new Halloween candies. It was like, yeah, I want to see what these are all about. I don't want to go try them myself, but I want to see someone else do it.
So I think that video was brought to me by Tiff. As I said in the video, that really wasn't even my idea. And actually, I think that video came out so well because it wasn't my idea, and I didn't have these preconceived notions of how it was going to go. The intro to that video literally happened because it was 2 days before Halloween. I hadn't made it yet. Tiff was going to be upset with me if I didn't make it because she got me on the candy. And then I just went downstairs, got like a small bench, set it up, put a bunch of candles on top of it, put green lights in the background, and just framed this shot. And then I put my hood down and was just making myself giggle. So I started writing a script for that intro part, and it all just came from that. It was because of the flow of that. And I wouldn't say that a video of me eating every Halloween candy is my magnum opus or what I want to be doing. But I think the idea that there is something that I want to be doing makes no sense to me. That changes every minute. I'm constantly having a flux of there was a couple months ago when I thought that I was going to be driving all over the country at this time and trying to get small businesses to let me film commercials for them for $25 and a sandwich. And that just didn't come through. And it doesn't so much matter if you follow through, if you do these things all the way. What matters is that you're consistently working this part of your brain that's like, what's the next thing? What am I? What do I want to make? What is creativity when it comes out of me? What is my direction? What is my path? Am I okay with it changing? And I found that if you're okay with it changing, the world will kind of let you go where you're supposed to go. It really, doors magically open up. I've gone broke, but I've never been homeless or lost everything. It seems that by saying yes and by agreeing to fix a toilet for $50 when I'm shooting a video for some guy, and the guy who owns the building is like, our toilet's broken. If someone can fix it, I'll give you $50. Saying yes and going through and just taking risks has always been a benefactor for me. So yeah, I hope that somehow, I'm a big rambler. I'll go all these places.
No, that's great. I'm glad that it went there, because it's really similar to what you just said with going with the flow, because I kind of had this same experience in the last year and a bit where I knew that I finally realized that everything will be okay if I just jump. So I moved to San Diego, and I just started becoming the yes man, because here I was just living out of my trailer and kind of passing through all these other people's lives, whether they're in bands that I've played with before. You just end up saying yes to a bunch of things. And then I ended up working as a sound guy and making some side money that way, which it was like, yeah, I've known how to do this for so long. Now that I'm living somewhere permanently stationary, why don't I capitalize on that skill that I've acquired? And then I started working at this company that was shipping off merch for Live Nation and Warner, and super cool like skater dudes that I felt like were brothers I grew up with, and here they are, letting me practice in their warehouse and set up my drums and get ready to go in the studio and share a rehearsal space with my hero, Tom DeLonge. It was like, this all just happened from saying yes. And I know that that's like a big chunk of luck that I feel, just finally happened from jumping. And I know that that's not going to happen for everybody else, but there was 20 to 30 opportunities where I had to sit with myself and kind of question, like, is this right? Do I want to be working a warehouse job, packing vinyls into a box? Let's see where it goes. Let's just do it and see where it goes.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that I did that and I had those experiences. And, unfortunately, along came this COVID wave that kind of shut all of that down and just made me start from scratch. But now I open doors to new opportunities, as you were saying, where it's like, I don't know if this is me, but I'm going to start this podcast and have conversations with friends that I feel like we're always having really great like-minded conversations. And it's like I said at the beginning, it's my second favorite thing to do. So I may as well do that. If this is the only thing I can do right now, I may as well get it started. It's been in the back of my mind for years. So, here it is, and I'm loving it. You know what I'm also loving is Vocalese throat spray. They also have some incredible new products like these throat drops. They're basically a candy that you just suck on and they relieve your throat tension and bring down inflammation. They also have these new Manuka honey sticks. So check out Vocalese. Their throat spray is amazing. You can find it at Guitar Center or any other music store across North America. And if you use this link and order online, you can get your Vocalese order for 15% off. So head to this link and that will get you 15% off your order. Thank you. Let's get back to RubeusCubeus.
There's a strange spiritual awakening that seems to be going on amongst a group of our fellow friends right now. I think that while this was a very big setback, I lost a job that I really, really enjoyed. I was managing a restaurant called Black Sheep in Charleston. It was my favorite job I had ever had. I had never felt more at home in a place of work. And that was lost because of COVID. And I didn't know what to do. I had absolutely no clue what to do. I didn't have hardly any money saved up. But I've really found that life is just all creative problem solving. Yes, you had to take a jump and move somewhere, but you're a smart guy. You have solved lots of very difficult problems. You have figured out ways to do things that people have not figured out besides you and a few others. You have skills to go there and you're going to figure it out. You're not going to fail, because where people see loss and disillusion, you see opportunity. And that's the magic of all of this. As soon as I lost that job, I said, okay, well, how am I going to pay my bills? So I started figuring out, things with the business, helping Tiff out more, moving more towards that, making myself self-employed, figuring out actionable work that I could do during this time. I started streaming. I streamed 40 hours a week, 50 hours a week. There was one day that I did a 4-hour stream, stopped for 2 hours, and then came back and did a 24-hour stream. Like, wow. I was a man obsessed. I had to be doing stuff. And that was because I wanted to learn this. I wanted to learn setting up a light and making things look better. And every day I could tweak it. And every day I could watch back what I did, and I could see everything. I could see how I reacted to this guy who said that, my voice was stupid. And I could see how I was handling things, and I could learn about myself that way, and I think that's what you get when you put yourself in interesting and difficult situations. When you take a jump, you get to see who you really are, and once you've done that enough, you have a pretty good idea of, I'm gonna be okay. Like I'll figure it out. Like, it might be really hard, I might be miserable, but I'll probably be okay in a year or so.
Yeah, that is a good point, that I think a lot of people are realizing that. And yeah, I've figured out a lot of things that I never thought I could figure out. And you've figured out a lot of things that take a lot of time and obsession to actually get even 20% of the way to the goal that you're actually trying to get to. Yep. But it's a matter of also being happy with that 20% that you've acquired. And I mean, from all the things you're sending me that you're doing now, I'm like so glad to get caught up on that. And like, I'm amazed. Like, I'm also very interested in the evolution of people being able to be DIY entities, and things like Etsy and Fiverr are like, I mean, I haven't dabbled in them, but they're really intriguing to me, and not in a surprising way. I was at this kind of summit gathering called Gathering of the Titans. It's these like 75 really successful entrepreneurs kind of doing this private meetup every year. And it was at MIT. I got invited through a friend's dad who was like, I like that song about your dad. Like, I want to help you out. We do this music night. You've got a lot of gear. You can host the music night, play your set. So it was a huge opportunity for me. And I sat in on all these really like interesting business entrepreneur seminars. And one of the themes of this weekend was moonshot thinking and how the future is moving towards more tech. And this was back in 2015, 2016. And I met a lot of really great friends out there, and we have, you know, when I tour through, they let me stay in their mansions, and we have these great conversations together. And it's amazing how everything we learned that weekend was so true, in that AI is going to take over, and not to be afraid of that. Mm-hmm. And eventually, one of the really inspiring things for me was, one guy said that by 2040 or 2050, nobody will need a dead-end job anymore. Basically, no one will be working a job that they don't like. Everybody will have the freedom and accessibility to be working for themselves and not even feel like it's work. And I feel like we're already there. Like, a lot of people are already there. And maybe we're privileged for having that, but a lot of it comes from just figuring it out and just saying no to the man, regardless of how much trouble it's going to take, and sacrificing a lot of the general flow of society, and not worrying about that side of things, like going to college or you know, getting married. A lot of that is like, well, I'll worry about that once I figure out this do-it-yourself thing. But like back to things like Etsy and Fiverr, I feel like, wow, we're actually getting there. Like, Tiffany is making her amazing products and killing it on Etsy, and that's a thing. Like, she's able to do that because of where we are in our evolution as humans. So it's really cool.
And I mean, all of the bills for the house that I am living in come from that business. Truly, I mean, it is unbelievable what has happened. We started this business 5 years ago, almost 6 now. It'll be 6 in a few months, and it's been a grind. And I think that you hit the nail on the head when you said maybe we're privileged, and it's like, well, yeah, but I didn't come from. I came from a working class family. We did not have a lot. I, got my first guitar by using my Christmas money for my grandma to buy a Chinese Strat off the internet. We didn't have a lot. Things were worked for. I mowed lawns to make money to pay for my cell phone bill when I was in, 13-year-old in middle school. I have figured this stuff out by putting in lots of effort. And I think there is this idea of like, oh, yeah, they just got lucky. And it's like, well, I've been obsessed with it for 15 years. That's kind of how I ended up here. So yeah, it's amazing the opportunities that we have, and we all have. I mean, I'll go, because I also do like eBay reselling. So I'll go to Goodwill and find a video game for $1.50 and sell it for $40 on the internet. And those are things that are just available to everybody. Go to yard sales and find, I went to a yard sale one time and found like 10 sports team flat bill hats, and they were $1 a piece, and I sold every single one of those for $12 at least. And these are just things that you can do with. You can have a $20 bill in your pocket, and you can go out looking for things to resell. And as long as you don't feel bad for looking at eBay while you're looking at the item and looking at the sold listing, you can make money for yourself. Nobody has to do that for you anymore. And I always think that it's nuts, these people who work at McDonald's or Taco Bell, and they're so upset and complaining about their pay and their hours. And I just think, well, you have to do it yourself. You have to get in there and find out, how is Taco Bell selling tacos? How are they marketing? How are they getting people in the door? Can I do that? Can I do that on a scale that is not expensive for me? Can I move through the same channels on a smaller level? Can I get myself to bigger places? And Tiff has been a giant inspiration for me with that. I mean, this girl has found a way to do exactly what she wants all of the time, and only work for herself and pay all of her bills and give us this incredible life. And it's come through her own tenacity. Tiff didn't have another job for years, and it was a struggle. I worked a job or two jobs sometimes, but the life that we have now comes from her ability to see forward and go, well, I can push further. I can keep going. I know I'm smart enough to crack this. I just need more time. And now we're living it. Don't doubt yourself because the world around you tells you that you're some punk kid from West Virginia or some girl. Don't let people put these stipulations on you. They do not know you. They are trying to bring you down to where the world has brought you down to. Mm-hmm. And it's beautiful, man. We are all heading that way eventually, because unemployment will eventually go through the roof through automation, and the sooner that people figure it out, we should be working towards it. So yeah, I think it's beautiful. I mean, technology is terrifying, but we're not going to stop it.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. It is terrifying, but in a lot of ways, it has brought us to this kind of privileged, or I should say blissful zone. Yes. Because in a sense, we're all privileged. I hate when a musician gets called privileged, because we started off this conversation talking about how much of a grind it is. Yeah. But I would, on the other side, I would agree that we are all privileged. The fact that we could play music is a privilege. Yes. I just watched on Netflix with my girlfriend the trials of Gabriel Fernandez, and if you look at that, everybody above that is privileged. That kid is the definition of not privileged. Yeah. I remember I was at Pomona Warped Tour, just walking around with my acoustic, playing songs to kids. And this slightly drunk, probably 17-year-old girl sits on the bench and hears me playing, and she goes, "Why are you so confident?" And I'm like, What do you mean? I'm a musician. I was trained that you're supposed to be confident. Isn't this what you guys want? And she's like, "Do you realize how privileged you are?" I'm like, whoa, I'm just trying to play some songs for you. And I get it, the whole snowflake generation is gonna, say what they need to say, and she's a little drunk, so she wants to get her voice going. But I was like, I gotta hear, why do you think I'm privileged? Mm-hmm. And she was like, "You're tall, you're white, you're a male." And I'm like, okay, I might be lucky to be tall, but based on what I'm after, is being tall super beneficial? I'm not trying to play in the NBA. You got to weigh out what you want and what's important, because if I wanted to be a gymnast, it would really suck being this height. So that's out of the question. And then everyone has the accessibility to what I have. If you have a smartphone now, you can go, I get that, I come from a different background than someone who was born black or brown or Asian, but for sure. Everybody has their own benefits in different categories. And I've learned that through traveling and meeting so many people. Everyone always says, "I don't understand how you know so many people." I know them on a very small, maybe I'll see them once a year level, but I've naturally learned that we're all privileged to be living in this generation. Mm-hmm. And the longer it takes you to realize that, the harder your life is going to be. So part of me realizes, yes, I am privileged, but most of me realizes that we are all privileged, and we're so lucky to be finally in this moonshot ladder to being at the point where we could have everything we ever wanted if we just put in a little bit of work and positive mindset to reach those goals. And like that can't be argued, but it is.
The humility is definitely very important. When you start believing your own hype, you stop working hard. But
For sure.
I have met plenty of people throughout my lifetime of all different kinds of backgrounds that have made their way to places that are semi-unbelievable. And I think that there is a business in the world of crushing spirits. I think that if you can take a whole bunch of teenagers who have these giant aspirations to change the world and be the next Elon Musk or the next Patrick Stump or whoever, and then you can crush them down to the point that they will accept some $10 job working at McDonald's, then you can make more money off of them. McDonald's, these, the numbers for how much a business makes off of what they pay for somebody are astounding. And I know that for myself. Me and Tiff talk about it all the time of we might only get 30 or 40 hours of work a month sometimes, but that work ends up being worth like $35, $40 an hour. So we don't have to work all of these extra hours. These businesses are cheating you. They are keeping money for themselves because that's how business works. And it's not because the world is unfair or something. Well, it is though sometimes. I will agree to that. The world is unfair sometimes. But it's not because of that middle class suburban Chicago kid didn't ever make anything of himself. It's because he believed that he couldn't make anything of himself, that he shouldn't try. And I have heard that argument so much from family members even at times of, well, I didn't try for anything different than what was expected of me, so I'm angry at you for having done that. And that just, it feels so bad sometimes to be like, do you not see that I'm working every bit as hard as you are to make all of this happen? Do you not see that I am just, I once again, right, why are you so confident? I might exude all this confidence, but I know that I might die at 45, 60, 70, 35, alone with nothing because of the choices that I have made. But I don't care. They're my choices and I'm going to make them. And the people who are sitting around listening to what their parents tell them to do, listening to what their boss tells them to do, those people are their own worst enemy.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack there. And it's all so true. And it all stems from what we originally talked about, is a lot of people only see the happy results of hard, treacherous, backbreaking work.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate because the people who have done the treacherous work and the backbreaking work to create whatever masterpiece that they have created, that on a side note might also leave them alone, dead at 60 years old. They respect that grind so much out of people like us, and even if it's a totally different industry, they know that a musician is not a lifestyle of waking up, drinking some coffee, driving down the street to the theater and playing a show. It's not like the books you read about the Rolling Stones. Like it's we're in a very modest age as artists, but some of the people who grew up only seeing the top 40 successful bands don't really understand that, and they come from a background of working for the man and grinding through that middle class grind and just getting that small promotion here and there, that it just looks like, you privileged piece of crap, you don't know what I've been through. It's like, no, you don't know how many cold nights I've slept in a Burger King in Europe so that I can play to 20 people and hope that it works, hope that it makes sense.
Well, and for me, it's like you don't know how many times I've played a show on Friday night to wake up and play a noon show on Saturday, to come home and do all of my housework on Sunday, to get up and go to work on Monday. That's the thing that I think that people don't get. It's like I worked at UPS loading packages into trailers and like breaking my back. I mean, I had a torn meniscus injury from working a job. Like I have put my body on the line to make things work when this wasn't paying the bills. And people just don't see that. So yeah, to that, I 100% agree with you, Mike. Well said. Can I plug something real quick? Well, we have a moment here. Yes, I want to put out this. So I'm having a hard time finding people who want to work and do things with me. You can hear the quality of my microphone. This microphone costs $15. You can see the quality of my video. This is a cheap camera with like cheap lighting. I want to tell you all that anyone who has a dream, a desire to make music, make video, do any of those things, if you need help, message me. Let me know. I do not care about the money. We can figure that out later. I need people to collaborate with. I need you all to understand that we need to work together in order to make things. So please, if you can find the time, if you have a song, don't worry about not having an idea for a music video. I can have an idea. We can work on it together. If you need a producer, if you don't know how to record and everyone's super expensive, I can help you work the channels and get somewhere. Just come and talk to me. I see so many people who are so upset about where they are, and I feel like you can't offer anyone help until they come and ask for it. So if you need help and you are anywhere around West Virginia, feel free to ask. I am always happy to help. So that's
awesome. Yeah, dude, that's helpful. I'm glad you got that out there. And I was going to say, I don't even think you need to be in West Virginia to get help from Cole. I think you can help remotely now. I mean, I just finished an EP for the band that I just joined, Mainsail, editing it, sending it off to mixing, making mix notes, collaborating with the guys on how they feel, all remotely. And I've finished music videos with the DOP and editor while I was on tour, just FaceTiming and saying, and it was like trying to edit 4K footage, very stuttery, like try putting this shot here, this shot's a little late, and like we managed to go through my editing notes over FaceTime. So even if you're not in West Virginia, even if you're in another continent, I think that you're a really hard worker and very experienced, and people could benefit a lot from going to you. And there's a lot of people that are not nearly as experienced that are getting work and getting overpaid for it, in my opinion. And I think that that's another thing that we're reaching, is like the realization that a lot of this stuff doesn't need to cost as much as it did. Just like musicians, no longer are a dime a dozen now. We don't cost nearly as much as we used to.
There's a lot of people with good sounding studios. There's a lot of people with a lot of knowledge nowadays. And yeah, man, I mean, I was having a conversation with my friend Ben the other day about this. I don't want to, the word poser is something that I use, but that's not fair enough. But like people who are posing as having way more ability than they actually do, and taking advantage of people who don't understand that they don't have. Like it's like a close-up magician is really convincing to random strangers, but to another magician, they're like, I know exactly what's going on here. Find people you trust in the industry and ask them questions about dude down the street who says that he's going to produce your record for $1,000, and then you show up and it's like a 10-year-old Mac Mini with like, little rocket KRT rocket
studio
speakers. Yeah, exactly. Be aware that those people are out there.
Just plug in your guitar. yeah, totally. We used to have that ongoing inside joke with Time and Distance. We used to love that. Is the iRig Studios, when their buddy would be like, "Let me record you guys' new song," after they've been to like Rob Freeman, and they get there and it's like plug into iRig, and Hey, all those tools are really helpful, and I don't you push people away from that, but be careful where you're investing your money. Invest in yourself, but make sure that you've done your research and you're going to get the best product for what you're expecting too, because a lot of it is genre based and style based too. And if I've gone to producers and mixing engineers that were good at what they do, and they had the gear. They definitely had the gear. But they just didn't have the same ear that I was brought up expecting and wanting on a style level. So that's important too.
You end up, being a musician, a lot of times you end up in a lot of situations where you go, I think I know more than this guy does. Why am I paying him a bunch of money? Like, that happens a lot. And then you kind of get trained over time to understand too of just because you know more about guitar tones than this producer, maybe that's not, like, why would you pay a producer who knows a ton about guitar tones if you also know a ton about guitar tones? Like,
right.
One of the things that I always appreciated about working with Greg McGowan, regardless of any thing else, was his ear for melody. I mean, there were a lot of times that, like, if it wasn't for him helping me record my vocals, those Letters songs wouldn't have sounded good. So that's like an important thing to note too. But yeah, and if you show up and the guy has iRig Studio, just go buy iRig Studio yourself and figure it out. Save yourself a little bit of money in the future.
Right, yeah. There's a lot of things that I ended up just learning myself because I felt like, wait, if I just watch this guy for 10 minutes, okay, I could go out and get Pro Tools and learn as much as he knows fairly quickly. And he paid $50,000 for an education. So, like, I'm so that's another thing, is careful who you're gaining your knowledge from and how you're investing yourself into knowledge, especially these days where there's so much information that you could get for free off of YouTube and forums. You could pretty much figure anything out on your own. If you have a smartphone or if you have a laptop, you could even just go to the library if you don't and figure out how to do 90% of what you might be paying for. It's what I learned pretty quickly.
And also, it doesn't have to be the best of the best in order for you to get some kind of notoriety or steam off of your project. Don't think that you have to be perfect or that it has to sound like $1 million record. There are lots of bands who have gotten huge from recordings that they did themselves in a basement. Lo-fi artists are a thing. Don't be afraid of it. And now, whatever you can afford, you should definitely go for. Quality speaks volumes. But there are a lot of times that I wish I wouldn't have spent $1,200 on a record before I was able to actually go and deliver a $1,200 record. Like, you're not going to have better songs because you paid more money for your record. That's just not how it works. And that's all that matters in this world when you're playing a show. When you show someone your song, the only thing they hear is the songwriting.
Right, yeah. That's a good point. Well, man, we have done a little over an hour already. It's flown by because this has been a good one, and I guess I want to wrap it up with a couple more plugs from you. I know you have a Twitch. What games are you streaming on Twitch, and where can people find it?
I'm like legitimately not even on Twitch right now. Now that's going to change in the near future, but RubeusCubeus in fact, Mike, if you want to put my name in this as RubeusCubeus and then in parentheses Cole Fleming, like on the title of this, because RubeusCubeus, RubeusCubeus, is the word that you can Google and all of my stuff comes up. That is, Cole Fleming will get you a bunch of results, but RubeusCubeus will bring you to everything that I do, from YouTube to Instagram to Twitch to all of that. And there's just content everywhere. You're never going to be able to figure out exactly where it is at that time, but if you start following along, you'll see that I'm constantly putting out stuff for you to enjoy.
Okay, so RubeusCubeus is the thing to search if you are into game streaming, fun YouTube videos, awesome music, and
personal journey. That's what you should be looking at me for. It's my personal journey. I'm trying to become the greatest creative that I can possibly become, and I'm hoping that you all will follow along on that.
Right on. And then, of course, Flow Season. Check out if you want to hear some awesome music. Follow them.
Flow Season, Letters.
Letters
is a great band. We have some really cool stuff. And then also my friends in Massing, big shout out to them. My friends in Time and Distance. Greg McGowan is a great person to check out from Charleston. Roy Bush has put out one of the greatest records that I've heard out of Charleston in a minute. Down in Round 3, I just recorded a guest spot for a song that I don't know if I can talk about that, but I'm doing it, so why not? For a song that they're going to be putting out. They've been working on a record. All of these people are people you should check out, and they are all doing incredible things. Mike, you are also doing incredible things. I think you're an amazing person, man. Thank you for having me on. It's really an honor, truly. You have the best podcast of any of my friends that have been like, I'm going to start a podcast. Good job, buddy, for real.
Thank you, Cole. Thank you. Well, Cole Fleming, aka RubeusCubeus. I'm going to put a bunch of links in the description for you as well as Tiffany's Etsy products and your products on Etsy.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to have to...
Too many shout-outs. Yeah. Go buy stuff from Tiff. Let me make bath products for you.
Yeah, amazing bath products, and this has been a long one for a good reason. There's so much going on, and I'm proud of you, man. I'm proud that it's all coming together, and you're really going for it. You're really doing it, as I say. So keep it up, man. And thanks again for the time. Thank you. Oh yeah, RubeusCubeus, dropping that knowledge. I don't know about y'all, but I just really relate to all Cole has to say about everything. Be sure to subscribe to his YouTube channel if you are a fan, and subscribe to this YouTube channel if you haven't already, if you'd like to get notified about more podcasts. There's a new one every Sunday, so don't miss out. Click that little bell and you'll get little notifications every time I release one of these bad boys. And like I said, I'm stuck down here for the next couple weeks, so if you have any questions or you just want to talk, feel free to leave a comment on YouTube or Instagram, and yeah, maybe we could even have you on an episode if you want. Big thank you to RubeusCubeus for being on the show. Thanks again to Vocalese. Thank you for hanging out. Have an awesome American Thanksgiving and rest of your week. And I'll see you next week for another episode of State of My Art Podcast. Ciao.